So let's start with the GIC2 risk assessment. So this is the GIC2 risk assessment practical that we should have to prepare. And in the Word file that we get, the GIC2 template, on the green side, in the left side, you see like 1.1 till 1.6 in this page. That shall be there. And on the right side, in the white boxes, that will be blank, and you should have to write all these things. So it's very simple. What here the risk assessment is requiring is, you are going to be a safety officer, and when you visit any of the industry, that could be a construction industry, it can be a manufacturing industry, it can be chemical plant, it can be a factory, it can be a shipyard, or it could be a offshore sector. So it can be any of the sector. When you go in that particular place, you will say, see, there is some risk in that work. That person has a chance that he can fall from that height. The person that is working in that machinery, there is risk. His hand can be injured. So with a visual inspection, you will see like this much amount of hazards in a particular industry. So you are identifying it. So is that a proper method? Here only you are seeing visually and you are feeding in your mind this much amount of dangers are there or risk is there over there involved. Now this risk, we are documenting it in a proper formal system in which all these particular hazards, the dangers or the risks that you see are being recorded in this particular document. And with this document, we assess the risk, or like find the risk, and how can we control it properly. Like we do the assessment of that. And complete setup is there in this document. So understand, a risk assessment is like a document that we do to find the risk, to assess the risk, and how can we control that, and how the control measures shall go step by step. How can we do that? So that is the benefit and the use of this risk assessment. So here, while doing this examination, the assessor or the uh, examiner is also requiring that, are you capable of doing the assessment? Risk assessment is what we should have to prove. So we shall start with section 1, that is the background. Here we are going to see first, that is 1.1 and 1.2. So in the 1.1, that is asking name of the organization. So here you can see an example that is said, that is International General Garage Limited, known as IGG Limited. So here you should have to put the organization name properly. Some companies are named, I will give you example, like Shell, a very famous company that works in the oil and gas sector, in the offshore sector. There is a Toyota, there is again Siemens Energy. A lot of companies are there. But is it the proper name of that? When we say Shell company, Is it the proper name of that? No, it is not the proper name. So we shall first see how can we find a proper name of the company, and also understand, candidates, you can choose any of the industries, any of the industry sectors you can choose, and do the risk assessment. Okay, wherever there are risks, here actually in this risk assessment you shall require around like 10 hazards to be written in this document. So if you have like more amount of hazards in a particular sector, in a particular organization, in a workplace, then you can choose that particular organization and do this risk assessment. And also, if you are working in that particular organization and that organization requires confidentiality in which you cannot or should not use their name, then for example, here you can see the name is International General Garage Limited. You can put here like the International General Garage Limited, which will become TIGG Limited. So here what happens is that actually becomes a false name or like an invented name, or you had little changed the name in which the actual company shall have no complications with that. Mostly none of them have such complications, but still there are some companies who require their like sort of confidentiality and everything. So in such cases, rare cases, with just adding one word or changing some words in the organization name, you can do that. So you can also invent a false name, that is also good, but you can choose this format also. But mainly understand this thing. Here you can see International General Garage Limited, the limited thing is used over there. So putting the name of organization should be very proper. I shall show you some examples how that can be done. Now here you can see I had written over here Toyota Automobile Manufacturing registered name. This you can put over here in the search option, you can put registered name. So the proper name came. This company is always known as Toyota. It has been called, but the actual registered name is Toyota Kirloskar Motor Private Limited. So this is their actual registered name. So if it is a like automobile manufacturing unit, if I'm choosing, and this particular name should be put over there, and a particular place. If it is example, it is in like Delhi, the city and the country name, you can put like that. So here you can see how it is like. So in that format you should have to put. So Toyota Kirloskar Motor Private Limited, name of organization, and the place. For example, if it's unit where we are doing this risk assessment, that workplace might be in Delhi, India, or if it could be in Mumbai, India. For example, if it is in Dubai, then Dubai, UAE. If it is in Birmingham, UK, we can put. If it is in Texas, then Texas, USA. If it is in Frankfurt, then Frankfurt, Germany. The city name and the particular name of the country actually put. So this is one example for Toyota. See, of every company, if you don't know the proper name, just write the name of the company and then write this thing, registered name. So that will show the proper name of the company. Now let's check off the Shell, the offshore company. So Shell Global Company's registered name, you can see that is Shell PLC. Now what is a PLC? That is a public listed company, PLC. Okay, so you should have to put this name actually in the name of organization, Shell PLC. If you put Shell, that's not proper, so you should have to understand the registered name of that and put it properly. Then you have the BP, British Petroleum. So it is normally called as BPBP, but the registered name is BPPLC. Then we have the ONGC. Mostly this is called as ONGC and people know it as like Oil and Natural Gas Corporation, ONGC. But here also you can see ONGC followed by the limited is there. It is not called as ONGCL. It is called as ONGC. But here, this is the actual written. You should have to write like this: Oil and Natural Gas Corporation Limited. This should also be written ONGCL. ONGC Limited. ONGCL should be written over here. Then there are like in sectors it could include the airports also, aviation sector. So you have the CSM International Airport, that is Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj International Airport. So that is also one example. You have the Dubai International Airport. So see, sectors, there are tremendous amount of sectors being available. Various sectors are there, various fields are there, so you can choose that. Then you have the Merit International INC. So the official name also mainly it is called as Merit International, but here you can see INC is there. Marriott International INC. So that is official name. Then we have the Siemens Energy. So this company is a registered name. You can see Siemens Energy is mainly it is called as Siemens Energy, but its name here is official name is Siemens Energy AG. So see, this is how you can find the registered name of the like particular company that you are going to select. So you might be working in it could be an LLC, it could be a private limited company. So various different types of organization it could be. So you should have to understand that, and you should have to write like this. So site location you might have understood. The company could have like pan international. It could have locations, work site locations, but the place where you are choosing that particular site, like city and country name, you should have to put over here. So now we have done that. So now coming to 1.3, that is brief description of the organization. So here what happens is you should have to give the brief description of the organization. So understand, the examiner, you should have to make them understand like what organization is it. So it is like about the company. So you should have to say what is about that company. So see, here you can see the IGG. It is actually a medium-sized garage. It has offices. It has like vehicle repair shops. It has paint spray booth, and they do the business like the repairs, maintenance of commercial vehicles, and the body repair of the vehicles. Mainly they do of the car and vans, and like the vehicles that has been involved in the accidents, and for all such cases they do that also for insurance companies. So they do servicing, they do all such activities including spare parts. They have the store for workshop, and they have engine repairs activities relating to servicing, body repairs, draining, fuel oil, all these activities whatever they do, spray booth activities, that is mentioned. And also the timing is also mentioned. The garage operates from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. on weekdays and is closed on the weekends. Workers are only required to work 7 hours per day, so there are staggered start and finish times in places. So how the activity is currently being going over that particular place, that you should have to mention over here. So that is a brief description of the organization. So now we can understand that this is a medium sized garage, and like what all activities are been going over there, so we can understand that. So what shall it include? See, what the company does, what the company does, what activities happen over there, and then who works there. Okay, who works there. So, and also the working hours of that particular company. So these all four things are very important, like what the company does, what activities happen over there, and who works there, and the working hours of that particular company. So that are the points that should be included in the 1.3. Types of work, activities, the products, the services that has been there, you have to mention that. And remember, 1.3 that you start is actually the foundation for the entire risk assessment you do. Because by 1.3 you make understand the particular examiner or who actually views this particular document, you give them a idea of the company, and that shall match with the complete risk assessment, which means you had mentioned regarding a garage, and you should not have to choose any hazard that shall not be there in that particular garage. Sometimes you are saying like some hot work or welding, gas cutting and all this thing in a like in a place that happens in the shipyard, like refitting in a like a high risk task. In a garage it could be there, but in a minute small times it is required, or very rarely it is required. But you are putting that particular hazard copied from any of a shipyard risk assessment. So see, when things like mismatch, or there is a confusion being created with the examiner, then that will be an issue. So understand, when you put 1.3, that shall match with the risk assessment that you do, like the 10 hazards you are going to prepare. It should match directly with it. There should be no confusion being made of in this thing. So this is the foundation. So understand properly about the company, and you should have to write it. So understand 1.3 is about the industry, the activities that they do, the people, like the working people and their timing, working time. All these things are to be mentioned in this. Then comes that is the 1.4, that is number of workers and typical roles. Here you should have to put the exact figures of people that has been working over there. Just think, if the worker is like around here you can see it is written 24 workers. In the bracket it is said like 10 mechanical assistant, 5 electrical support, 4 painters, 2 machinists and 3 general. That shall completely count for 24 workers. So here the figure is overall, and this is like it is showing the key personals, which means the main people who are actually sometimes at uh, exposed to dangers, exposed to risk, or like they in the hazards. These are the people who are being affected or shall affect or are in danger, or like can be in danger. In such cases, these people we should have to put. The 3 generals, they are also like in the key responsibility people, so that shall be also included. It is not required completely should have put, but the main thing that are required to put. Example, if it is an offshore like uh, company and we are doing the risk assessment, example is like, if there is 60 workers, it shall be written like this: comprising 20 engineer, 25 technicians, 10 support staff and 5 supervisors. So that will become like 60 workers. So you should have to write like that. So we included everything. And now if it is like a manufacturing industry, then you should have to like 75 workers, in which 30 production operators, 15 maintenance technicians, and 10 laboratory staff, 10 supervisors, and like 10 administrative staff. So you can write like this. So this is how you should have to put like 1.4. And now you have that is 1.5, which asks about description of the area or process to be included in the risk assessment. So here you should have to say, here you should have to say like what all area, what all activities and what all equipments and what all layout you are going to uh, choose the place, which means you're doing a risk assessment. A company could be very large, so but what all places, what all area, or like what all workspace are you actually selecting to do the risk assessment? Okay, see, if a company is very large, it is not said that you should have to do the complete risk assessment of the company. Here we require 10 hazards. So you are you are required, or like you are given uh, the procedure that you can choose a particular places. So here what is written, the risk assessment will cover the garage, the spray booth activities, the office area for has a separate risk assessment. The office area has a separate risk assessment. So this places, the garage, the spray booth activities, they will take. So understand here while writing, if you just write a basic description, that will give you just 1 marks. You should have to include the area, the activities of that, which means you can see the spray booth activities. They said the garage, it is like a place where activities goes on. So it should include that, the equipments. For example, if it is a construction like unit, sometimes there could be a setup of RMC plant, that is a ready mix concreting plant will be there. So that all big equipment or plant you can include that particular area or workplace you can include. Or even if you're capable of including a large amount of layout in the workspace, that is also good. So make sure that you give a proper description so you can get a good mark in that, 2 marks complete. So see, there are like activities like repairing, refitting, painting, all these things that happens. If it is like a work offshore plant, if it could be a oil rig, sometimes something like that, and there will be like drilling operations, maintenance, handling of chemicals, cranes, pumps, etc., that happens in offshore sector. And if it is like a chemical industry, then there are like work activities that happens like that. So 1.5, you need to understand that actually where exactly you are doing the risk assessment, that should be mentioned over there. So doing a risk assessment, you're conducting a risk assessment, where exactly are you doing that, you should have to mention that in this box. So area, where, activities, like what work, equipment, like with what equipment you're doing, all this to be mentioned over there. See, 1.3 was, now you will feel little like similar 1.3 and 1.5, because 1.3 brief description of the organization, 1.5 description of the area or process to be included in the risk assessment. See, 1.3 is about like is like about the company, description of the company or the about the company. But 1.5 is about where exactly you are doing this risk assessment. So understand the difference in 1.3 and 1.5. Okay, so 1.5 is like area, task, machine, and tools, and all this thing to be included in the risk assessment. So that is 1.5. So now we go to 1.6. That is how the risk assessment was carried out. This should include sources of information consulted. So when now you do the risk assessment, there is a particular like company, even though you are an experienced person, experienced safety officer, or you are like having a medium level of experience, or even if you're a fresher or new person doing the safety course, doing this safety health and safety practitioner. So any of the thing, whatever happens, what happens is there are like two sources of information. Like that is, we had learned this. That is internal source of information, and second, that is the external source of information. Okay, internal source of information that you can get from the company itself, and external source of information that you can get from the from websites of the ILO, then the hsc.gov.uk. Then you have the lot of safety journals, books, and everything. So you get all these types of external source of information. Sometimes you can get it from the institutions and everything, which means safety institutions are there a lot of that has been done by the government and the private institutions and everything. So you can get external source of information from that side also. So when you have all this thing, what happens is when you visit a particular company to do the risk assessment, or when you are in a particular company doing the risk assessment, there are a lot of things in which you shall require some source of information that is required for you. In such a condition, here you can see I started by looking to see if the ILO had any code of practices relating to garage work, which there was not. The British HSE website had a lot of resources, for example, health and safety in motor vehicles, repair and associated industries, that is HSG 261. The website link is also provided, was a good source of information. So when you do the risk assessment of different places, that will be sometimes offshore sector, sometimes construction industry, sometimes like this, the garage is mentioned over here. So you shall check in the internet directly. Don't put something like Google. Don't say in this box we'll put like I had checked Google. No, proper safety sources, proper safety source. You should have to mention like this how you find over here. So the one of the best like source of information that you can refer, I will show you. That is, you should have to go check the hsc.gov.uk. When you go, see when we put HSG 261, you can go in this website, or you can check this also, health and safety in motor vehicle repair and associated industries. So this page will come. Here you will get the complete information. When you click this PDF, this file will open. Health and safety in motor vehicle repair and associated industries. So in this is a document in which you will get the complete information, introduction, guidance for specific MVR sector, body shop and smart spraying, health surveillance, biological monitoring, and spray booth or room, tire repair replacement, under vehicles access, vehicle lift, examination of vehicle support, rams, vehicle supports, jacks, inspection pits, compressor air equipment, noise and vibration, fire and explosion, manual handling, flame cutting and welding, electrical safety, work at height, general working conditions, safety in MVR offices. So references, you get complete information in this document, which means the garage that we were seeing right now, you shall get the complete information in this document. You will have the complete information from A to Z. So what happens is, when we are doing this risk assessment, we shall require a lot of sources that needs to be checked. So see, what happens is sometimes the source can be the documents, sometimes it could be the people in the industries. We can get information from the people also, and mainly the external source of information, that is what we are seeing now. such documents we can check. We can also check the ILO C155 R164 and all these HSE documents, the safety journals, and a lot of things are there, books and everything. So we can completely see such type of documents and understand and refer the source of information that is there. So you can see the complete document. Everything is there in which easily you can understand and understand how the risk assessment is to be done and what all things needed to be noted in that, what all hazards are to be found, how can I control that, uh, like what controls are there currently and how can I improve that, all these conditions and everything you can find it. So it's a complete uh, document in which you can refer this thing. So 1.6, like all the source of information that you have consulted shall be put over here. So you can see consultation with the workers. Oh, sorry. Here you can see the inspections that you do, the records, meetings, online sources, before and during the particular time you're doing the assessment. So all such things you can mention over here. Now we will see the 1.7, that is how you identified the hazards. Now you can see after looking at source of information, I then went around the workshop and talked to the people who were doing the job, which means what happens in how you identify the hazards. It is asking, the examiner is asking you, how have you identified the hazards? So for that, what basically it requires is you should have to inspect the particular workplace, which means it requires a physical presence in which you take a inspection of that particular place. Visual inspection you do. Okay, you do the visual inspection. So what happens? First you do the inspection, visual inspection. That is your findings you see over there. Second, here you can see, for example, a lot of the workers don't know that there were dust masks available for or the reason why this should be one. So what happens is, he say that I then went around the workshop and talked to the people. So talking to the people, what happens is it is a consultation, right? When we say something to them and only we have said, that is informing to them. But what happens when we are speaking with the worker and the worker is also giving us information, that becomes like a sort of consultation over there. So two way of communication is happening over there. We are asking to them all these things and getting information from them. So we first do inspection to find hazards, and then we are asking to the workers. So what happens? Consultation is happening over there. And when this happens, then you can see I also check the accident book to see what type of incidents had occurred over the last 12 months, which means I also check the accident book. So we have the accident register or the accident book. So in that accident book, we check like what all types of incident has happened over there in the last 12 months. So it's very good. Like when you see a document, you should have to look for the last 12 months, not 3 months, 6 months. The perfect time is like last 1 year or 12 months. You should have to check the documents. In which, if do you find any like near miss cases or any incidents, accidents, and all these things, you can check the sick absence, like people being absent due to sick leave and all those things you can check over there. So with that you get information. So what are you doing? You're actually reviewing the documents, everything, and you're seeing, checking it, all those things. And then what is it? Following the inspection, I referred back to the notes that I made during the inspection and the sources of information that I had already reviewed to help me to decide of any additional control measures or actions that were needed. So Also, when the inspection, the notes, like the so, source of information that was used reviewed, so that can also be put over here. So with the help of that internal source of information and external source of information, with gaining that knowledge, we are identifying the hazards in this particular place. So this is 1.6 and 1.7. Okay, so 1.6 is like source of information that you had used, and 1.7 is like how you have identified the hazards. Okay, so 1.7, see, mainly it happens like by your visual inspection that you do, then the consultation with the workers that you make, and also whatever records is there in the company, in the internal source of information, you review that, the accident records and all the sickness data and everything. So what happens is 1.7 is actually a method that you check. 1.6 is source, 1.7 is a methods that you do, like inspection, consultation, reviewing the documents and everything. So that is 1.6 and 1.7. Now this is the core thing, that is section 2, the risk assessment. Here actually what we are doing is, as said, you should identify 10 hazards from at least 5 different hazard categories. So let's see the learner guidance, what is mentioned over there. This is the learner guidance that you have. Section 2, risk assessment. These are the hazard categories that you can find. So from 1 to 21, you can see these are all hazards. We know noise hazards. If a person is working with a very heavy noise machine, and if he doesn't have any like controls like earplug, earmuffs and everything, so in the like he shall face sometimes temporary like problems in the ears. His hearing capacity will become less, or sometimes it can be major also conditions depending on the voice and his condition also. Or else just think he is working in a like heavy machinery that is producing too much amount of noise, and any danger is approaching him. For example, if there is any uh, machinery backside in which his any of the dress is been caught, he is unaware of that, a person is giving him instructions from a long distance, but due to this particular machinery in his front, particular backside machine has been actually uh, making in a dangerous accident situation. When he is working in a forward machine that is producing huge amount of noise, a person is giving him instructions to be caution, to be safe, and to uh, self rescue himself, self protect himself. But due to such thing, that noise hazard, he is unable to receive the information. And also he due to this exposed machinery for a long time, his hearing condition is very less, and that was also a reason. So due to all these things, what happened, there is a hazard. So this hazard, there will be like different situations and conditions in industries, so we should identify that hazard and do that. Vibration, we know in the road construction project we can find that people do the drilling with the machineries, so a tremendous amount of vibration happens in the industries. Their health conditions also becomes very worse in the long term, that can be found. Then third, we can find the radiation. Radiation is mostly there in our environment everywhere. One example is in the hospital only. We know the machines are there, X-ray machines and everything. There are different types of machines that produces radiation. You can visit the hospital and see there is a like a radiation symbol being put over there, that is mentioned that please don't sit nearby this particular place. It has been written like that. It says avoid this particular place. Only authorized people are to be entered over there. Don't sit over there because there is a radiation exposure and everything that happens. So people who are required, has a medical conditions and everything, they are only just required to come over there. Necessarily the bystanders and the people like OPD people that has been waiting for the doctors, such people are not being required to sit over there and go over there. So radiation, this is one example. Then you have the mental ill health of the people, that is also very important, and that condition is very important. Mental ill health of the people that has been working. Violence at work, there are a lot of violences that happens at work against women, against people, by the by the seniors. So that is also an important thing. Violence at work happens mostly with the workers also, leading them to in a dangerous conditions. There are some industries where the workers are treated very brutally, so it is like a complete violence against them. And if any like so there are sort of conditions where this it is treated as very violently to the workers. So violence, there are a lot of things that happens against women, against workers and everything, so that is also an important factor in hazards. And substance abuse at work, there are substance abuse that happens, alcohol, drugs, all these things needs to be identified and controlled. Those are also hazard. If consumed, such people are a very big hazard or like a threat to the industry. Work related upper limb disorder, this comes in ergonomics and workstation design. Then you have the manual handling. In every industry this manual handling happens, and just think, if you are taking a load and what happens if there is any imbalance or misbalance or any of a failure happens and the load falls onto a person, that is a very big danger. Load handling equipment, so this comes in the handling. Then hazardous substances, see asbestos is there in most of the companies, so it is a very big danger. Now there are a lot of controls that has been there. So blood-borne viruses, carbon monoxide, cement, legionella, leptospira, silica, wood dust. So these all things we know majorly we can find this in the industries. So dust, we know different types of dust, we are facing. So that is also a danger. That is a hazard. Then welfare and working environment. Then you have the working at height. Patient is working at height. The hazards and the dangers that could happen, the risk, the severity, the fatality, and all these things happen. How can we control that? Confined spaces, the tanks. In industry, there are a lot of big tanks that has been there. So in that tanks also there is like danger gases being present. Sometimes if a person goes inside that and if he doesn't get a required amount of oxygen and everything, he'll feel suffocation. He will feel unconscious and he will fall. So that thing is also to be identified. Lone working. Just think it is a night in a company. Only just one security is there, taking ground entirely, patrolling entirely the industry. He goes to the electrical room to put uh, like a light in a particular place where he find any uh, like uh, some he finds some issues over there or like some sound over there or something like that, something issue he had find it over there. So he is going to put the light. So he goes to the electrical room, and what happens is the electrical room person, he was doing the maintenance in which some naked or exposed wire was there near the button. So this electrical room is also like little lighting conditions was not good over there. So when the security is now putting like switching on the button, he gets in contact with like a high voltage line, as we say the naked wire or the exposed wire, and there is no one to help, nothing. It is a night. So he is been injured in such conditions. So to so this is the issues that happens in lone working, very dangerous. Hence by that is see, when we as a safety officer, when we send a person to work, make sure that there are two people that goes for any of a risky work that we do. If anything happens to one person, the other person will go for help or shall do the required thing for helping or supporting that particular person. There is one thing that is known as never leave your partner behind. We know there are firefighters, fire watchers, and everyone. So when they do go for firefighting and everything, there is one dialogue that has been said: never leave your partner behind. Which means if there is a big fire has been there, and just one person like a one man show or like he goes to do the firefighting and everything, that is a very risky thing. No one can imagine what shall happen in such conditions. So there should be a support, there should be a partner behind you who shall guide you, who shall protect you, who shall, in cases that is a danger been, what thing you are seeing, the partner, he will see it in a different way. And if he feels danger, then he shall remove from that hazard or that potential threat that comes. So always remember that thing also. Then you have the slips and trips. What happens is, I will just give an example. If you people are now sitting at your home, when you walk, see your home, why I said you, because it is a very familiar place to you. You live in that environment daily. But still, what happens is there are furnitures being there, your bed, your table, chairs, and everything. What happens sometimes when you walk, it by mistakenly your leg or your fingers, toe fingers, get hit by this chair or the furnitures. Frequently, this happens, and that causes a very lot pain to you. So this happens mostly to everybody. So you, at least anytime you have experienced this thing, remember one thing over here. Even though it is your house, such thing happens to you, hitting your like toe fingers and everything. This happens. Even though you are being familiar with your house, with your home. So workplace is such a condition that is completely different. Which means there could be some new machinery is been coming. There could be change that happens over there. management of change, machinery has been changing, and workplace, there are a lot of things been new things been updating and all this thing. So all such things come. So in such a places, what happens is you are always sometimes in a, like sometimes you could be in a rush. So just think, there are some bundled cables being put down, and before that there could be some oil or diesel in the floor being spilled. You are unaware, you have a document and you're actually reading the document and going in a rush. So in this diesel, what happens, you have been slipped. So without any balance, you are actually going forward and you're going to fall, but you still somehow you are balancing it. But what happened again in the forward, there is a bundle of complete cables, electric cables. So now your leg is has been got locked in that and you're falling, which are actually losing the balance and catching the tripping the cable. Okay, see, in diesel you had slipped, in the cables you have tripped, and when you hit, it shall hit your head, forehead. So that is a hazard over there. The impact shall be very dangerous. Now 16, that is movement of people and vehicles in the workplace. We know the forklift vehicles, that movement is there, so that is there. Work related driving, then handheld tools. 19, you have the machineries. There are, see, in industry there are a lot of machineries that has various hazards associated with it, so that can be done. So machinery itself is a very big, has a very big hazard, and a lot of types of machines are there, so you can choose that. Then fire. See, this is a common thing, a common hazard that is there in every industries. Each and every industries, fire hazard is always there. And 21, again the same thing. Electricity, we know in every industries there is electricity, and hence relating to electrical hazards, electricity is also there as a hazard. So you can, in the risk assessment, choose this also. So these are all the hazards that, from this you can choose the hazards and make your risk assessment. So now coming to the assessment over here, you should have to choose actually 10 hazards. Here you can see one hazard, I shall describe it to you. So here in 2.1, that is hazard category, so you can see over here, and 2.2, that is hazard description. So first you should have to say in the hazard category, that is the hazardous substance. So in the hazard category, we had seen the 21 hazards over here. These are 21 hazards categories. From this hazard category, the first category that has been chosen, that is the hazardous substance, the 10th one. You can see over here, hazardous substance. So that you should try it over here. Then you should have to describe that what you have find over there. So in the garage, what happens, there is a lot of dust. So in the hazardous substance, you can find dust. So we are talking about the dust. You know the level of dust that has been there in the garage. So it should go step by step. Hazard description: dust, high concentrations of processed dust. High concentration of processed dust are always present from the routine and frequent activities being carried out. So definitely in a garage, what happens, the processed dust, it is been there in high concentrations, in heavy dust are been there. So this is one hazard that we can find, we had found. So that should be mentioned like this. So the hazard category should put like this, the name of that particular hazard, hazardous substance, and then you should have to describe it like this. So what was it, what is a hazard? So that is a dust, and you should have to describe regarding that particular situation over there. Then the 2.3, that is who might be harmed, which means by this dust, which means by the hazard category you have mentioned the hazardous substance in which the dust you had mentioned as a hazard description. By this, actually, who shall be harmed or who might be harmed and how they could be harmed, which means who are going to be harmed in this and how are they going to be harmed in this, that you have to say over here. So we say all workers, because workers are the people who are actually been near or like exposed to this dust mainly, because they are working with it. So mainly they are been exposed with this. All workers, customers. So there are customers who are actually uh, come over there to receive their vehicles to do the servicing and everything. So they are also exposed to this. And other visiting the organization. So visiting the organization, that could be sometimes the any of the person. For example, electrician visit, or sometimes it could be any person visiting from the departments, government departments to check. So you should have to mention that also, visiting the organization. So now you have mentioned who might be harmed. Now how they could be harmed, that is important thing. So here it is written like now here they are saying the condition. There is no dust extraction. So what is dust extraction? Actually, it is a machine that is been extracting the dust. So people breathe hazardous dust. So it is mentioned like it can cause like short-term irritation to lungs, long, and it could also become long-term serious conditions. So people can get the irritant dust on their skin, which shall cause skin issues like dermatitis. If it goes in the eyes, it shall cause like eye irritation and damage to the eyes. And if it is accidentally swallowed by the contaminated hands, like see the dust is there in the hands when people work. So if when people eat the food and everything, so what happens? It has been contaminated. Contamination happens over there, like from hand to mouth transfer. So this is also how it could be, how it can cause harm to them. So you should have to mention this properly. Now, what are you already doing to control the risk? Which means currently when you are doing the risk assessment over there, what all control measures are there? It is saying dilution ventilation is there. Now, what is a dilution ventilation? You can see this, mostly all people might have seen this, the dilution ventilation system. Okay, the dilution ventilation systems are there. So dilution ventilation system is there, and then it is said dust mask available, but it is not mandatory that these are one. See, remember one thing, as I said you, PPEs, personal protective equipment, is not the first step, but it is a last step as per the general hierarchy of control. First comes is elimination, second comes is substitution, third we have the engineering controls, fourth we have the administrative controls, and followingly we have the PPs. So that is a format that should come. So, and PPC, why it comes last? Because it depends on the human behavior. Sometimes they could remove it, there are chances. So that is not the, it should always be the last priority. So dust masks are there, but it is not mandatory that these people wear it. So these are the system that has been there for this particular hazard currently. Now you as a safety practitioner, health and safety practitioner, all the things that you have studied in the NEBOSH in this current course, with that knowledge, also with the internal source of information, and also from the external source of information, and from the like places we have mentioned where we can take the information. Understanding that, we need to like say what all control or what all further actions we can do so that we can control the risk in such case. So here it is said enclosed area to be set up for sand grinding operations, including that will include a suitable local exhaust ventilation system, which means, see, in the workshop there is the sand blasting and the grinding that happens in high pressure. There are sands and this has been blasted with a jet. With heavy pressure it has been blasted. So what happens in this, all this scattered sand actually is been there in the atmosphere, and if people are not wearing the proper PPs, so they shall breathe it. So in the long term it is a very big dangerous thing that happens. So for that, for such dust and everything, it is said that enclosed area to be set up. What is an enclosed area? You can see this is an enclosed area. If any such sandblasting is been done, so if you have doubt like how a sandblasting is like, you can see this sandblasting. So here you can see when the sandblasting is done, the complete sand actually scatters everywhere, and when this particular people wear the proper PPs, they are safe from this. There are a lot of people who doesn't wear it. That is a very high risk, because already it is coming, the sandblasting happens in a very high pressure, so that has a potential to cause a very big threat to the life also. So this is how a sandblasting happens. Hence it is said that it should happen not in an open space. In that open space, what happens, it will affect a lot of people nearby, and hence it should happen in a enclosed area. This operation should happen and there should be a suitable local exhaust ventilation system. So here a new thing is required. So what is a local exhaust ventilation system? Let's check what is it. So we have this sort of local exhaust ventilation system. So this shall improve the condition over there. The local exhaust ventilation system. So we are instructing this further action to be done, and then we say, and then what happens, this particular like further action that we had said, we are saying this thing, like we are instructing this thing in this assessment, but who is the person that shall carry out this action? In a company, everyone is given their job scope, that you are required to like do this type of work, or you are authorized to do this, or you have the authority to take charge of this and everything. So for each and every a person is been in charge for that. So we need to identify that. So here for this work, in which there are things, operations being changed, a new system is to be put over there. So here the workshop manager, this work should be put to him. You should not have to put, for example, a sand grinding operation is being done by worker, and this local exhaust ventilation system is also being required for the worker who is to do that work. So for him, like for his health and for everyone's health, we are doing for So he should not have to be there. He should not be the person that to carry out this action. No, he is not the proper responsible person for that. We have to identify that, and that is a workshop manager over there. So he shall take permission from the particular management or from the particular person to make such changes as said over here. That is a workshop manager. And when is the action needed by? So when is the action needed by? What time shall it require? What time are you saying? So which means you are suggesting like what time, in what time can you do this, complete this task. So here it is like medium term being said. Now understand the terms like the medium and everything. When there is a safety issue, that has a potential to cause threat to the life, which means if someone has a chance that he can get injured today, then the action must be immediate. So you can see when such potential is there, such danger is there, then you should have to put immediate. So immediate is something, it shall be few days, okay, some few days. Now the medium term, it is like from weeks to few months, and the long term is like months to years. So understand, whenever if someone can get injured today in such sort of like when you get such type of hazards and followingly things, and you feel that at that time immediate is required, immediate term. And when things you find it like improvement is required over there, so this is one sort of improvement, then you can put medium term. And when it is required, like it is an old company in which the buildings are old, there are chances that the building itself could collapse and all such dangers, in which you require, so you suggest a new building only, new building, new unit, redesign, automation of the machines and all this very high like thing you suggest. At that time what happens is it shall require like long term, because it will require definitely months and years. So this is how you should have to use the immediate term, medium term and the long term. See, long term chances are actually very rare. It depends, as I said, you the conditions. Mostly things put in the risk assessment over here shall be like immediate term and medium term. So we should have to put like that. So see, again, in the control measures, and these control measures you should have to make sure, this is a very important thing. In this is the most important thing, this point. What further actions do you need to take? You need to control the risk. This should actually follow the general hierarchy of control. That is elimination, substitution, engineering controls, administrative controls, and the BPS. What is elimination? Which means remove hazard completely. Remove hazard completely. And substitution is like replace with safer system, replace with some safe system, which means that is very good. E, that is the engineering controls, that is isolate the hazard. And administrative control is like control by the rules or like trainings and all this thing. So that comes mainly in safety. The administrative controls or what all things we take permits, trainings, TBTs, and all these things that comes in that. Administrative controls we do. We put rules, restrictions, and all these things. But that are weak things. That is depending on the human behavior again. Then the last option is the PPs. That is protect the person as the last option. See, if a person is doing a a welding work, and if he does at a height, and if that welding, if he is doing at height, actually it becomes a work at height, and he is doing in the outer section of the building. So that is very high risk. So we see, can we eliminate that hazard? Can we substitute that hazard? So what we will do is, we shall discuss with the welder, the welding that you're doing in that particular height. You're doing welding over there. What can we do is, it is becoming work at height, it is becoming dangerous, you're working at outer section. The same welding you do in the ground, you complete that particular structure, and afterwards take the crane, tower crane, water crane you might have, and with that help of the crane you just install over there. So we eliminate, we substitute the risk and everything. So that is how the general hierarchy of control should have to go. We shall not directly say you wear the safety belt, PPs, and do the work. No, that can be compromised. So what happens, a thing that was going to happen at that particular height, the risky work, so that we had made in the ground, that is safe, the welding was done safely, and by the engineering controls and everything, it is been installed over there. PPs was also been wear, safety belt and everything. So we are following this general hierarchy of control. So that is very important, general hierarchy of control. So that should be followed by the general hierarchy of control. And so again, in the general hierarchy of control, elimination, like, can we remove the hazard? Okay, it is like, can we remove the hazard? So there are, it's a question been asked to ourselves, can we remove the hazard? Yes or no? In substitution, can we reduce it? Whatever hazard is there, can we reduce it? So it is not every time that it can happen, yes. It is not sure that every time it can be yes. Okay, so sometimes it could be no. Then you should have to check the other like, it should have to come down. Do we have the engineering controls? Yes, we shall have it. So we shall do the engineering controls over there. Following the administrative controls, we shall make strong, and then the PPs we shall make strong. This should have to go over there. Engineering control, we shall isolate it. Administrative control, it is a control behavior of the person. And PP, last option. So always remember, PP is the last option. Treat it as a last option. So here only we can see, it is said use a dust extractor and clear all the settled dust within the workshop. It is said purchase of on-tool dust extraction system. Purchase has been said. So you can see the difference, finance director. So when purchase came, finance director looks into that. The post has been changing over there, like the who does that. The current dilution ventilation system is to be inspected and repaired if necessary. Maintenance program for all ventilation system. Look into the possibility of setting up health surveillance program for all affected workers. Consider RPE if the above do not fully control the hazard. Training program to be set up for all workers undertaking these activities. On best practices for keeping dust level to a minimum on the safe system of work. Here you can see training is being said. So see, what I'm saying is, when this column, when you fill, it shall follow the steps of general hierarchy of control, step by step. First, elimination, substitution, and this format should go on. So here you can see the format is been referred. So this is the administrative control that you can see. Okay, and then the respiratory protection that is been said. Respiratory protection. Consider RPE if the above do not fully control the hazard. The respiratory protection and everything is been said for the particular safety that comes in the PP. So this format should go on. Maintenance program for all ventilation system, the engineering controls and everything has been mentioned over here. Current dilution system, repair, inspection, repair, maintenance, and all these things. So engineering control is also been said over here. Okay. So purchase of on-tool system. So see, the work that is been of the workshop manager, then the name should be put of that, and the particular like action needed, the timeline, the time scale is been also put over here. So this is how for one hazard you should have to write it. Have to write over here properly. So like this was about hazardous substance of dust. So of one it has been mentioned over here. So there are like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Like this 10 hazards you should have to prepare and do. There are this all points when you can see over here like 1 to 21. You shall find all these hazards in this particular workplace you select, and you should have to write on that. So this one thing you can refer. This document shall be forwarded to you. So you can refer this and do it. And now coming to, see, this is actually the core thing. Okay, this is the core thing. This is the risk assessment that you're preparing. But remember one thing, everything is connected. This thing is connected to 1.7, 1.6, 1.3, because this actually is a foundation that gives information, and if here any mismatch happens to the above things, then that shall trigger for the examiner. The paper who checks. Okay, now we go for section 3. Now section 3, what happens is you will mention around like 10 hazards. The main hazards shall go up, and followingly the hazards that is less dangerous should have to go down. So all the hazards in the main top you should have to mention the very dangerous hazards and everything. So that in that one hazard you select. So prioritize one hazard to manage from the risk assessment. Now what happens in section 3, the hazards regarding only one you should have to take, and you shall have to prioritize and give information regarding that hazards, which means, so we take this hazard, that is this hazard we take, and we put over here, and we should have to describe regarding that. Hazardous substance dust, high concentration of processed dust, we mentioned over here 3.1. So about that we need to talk. What we need to talk? We need to say the legal reasons for prioritizing the hazard. In the element we had seen regarding the moral reasons, financial reasons, legal reasons. So we need to discuss the legal reasons. Due to this particular risk or hazard, what like legal reasons are there? So we should have to prioritize this hazard, which means you had mentioned that this should be controlled. So what are the legal reasons why we should have to control this hazard? We should have to mention that. Same here, what are the moral reasons why we should have to prioritize this hazard? You should have to say the reason, like we should have to explain like why. Because see, you had mentioned to take the change the system, like implement new things for control measures, purchase such equipments, dust extractor, and lot of changes you have mentioned. So why legally, morally, financially it is important? You shall have to justify or like prioritize. You should have to describe regarding that. So here it is said like ILO's convention C155, R164. What normally employers are required to make the process reasonably safe. The process of this shall be safe to everyone. The ILO code of practice, safety in the use of chemicals at work. Then the ILO code of practice recording and notification of occupational accidents and disease requires employers to report cases of occupational asthma to our country's health and safety regulators, which means all the legal things. See, due to that dust thing, due to this dust hazard, what all legal perspectives we need to understand that we have an obligation that to be done, which means the employer has a responsibility of these legal reasons, and the hazard should be prioritized, and these are all the things that has been coming on us, and this shall be written. So we know C155, R164, the articles and all the things in that, and the ILO code of practices, and see, if this has not been done, then as per law there will be enforcement actions that can come to IGG, International General Garage. So there shall be prohibition, there shall be uh, improvement shall be there. So if this is not been done, then if any workers are facing such issues and the regulators, the departments come to get knowledge of this, they shall take action, legal actions. So notices shall come, there shall be prohibition notice, improvement notice and all those things. So this legal reasons shall be mentioned over here like this. Same like that, moral reasons. Now moral reasons, we know everyone, see, every employer has a moral reasons to protect the workers first thing. Then the workers are coming to earn, okay, they are coming to earn some money, and opposite should not have to happen. Like they are earning some money and they are getting some ill health, or like they are now having some health issues, and the same money they are going to put in the hospital for medical and everything. So this shall not have to happen. There is a basic right of every individual, and the work activity should be safe. So if such like hazard has been there and it is not controlled, what happens in the future, not only that person but everyone it is affected, and that shall affect the families, friends and all the people that has been there. So they shall be controlled. The workers mental health and impact all shall be noted and shall be controlled. The mental health of other workers could also be affected if there are witness to serious injuries to other workers. We had also discussed this before also. You are working in a particular place and you all people are working the same work. Just think, if I'm also there in that garage working as a worker and you are also there working as a worker. So in that, one of our friend, he is doing the same work that we do. So now he has some like health issues affecting his lungs. He's doing a lot of coughing and all this thing that has not been controlled. He's unable to work and all these conditions have been arising. We all people also have some little amount of such coughing and everything, but temporarily. So we know that that particular person, what condition he is facing, we shall also face tomorrow. So that will make the moral down of everyone. The working environment and everything will become morally down. So that shall affect morally to everyone, to the workers, to the employers, everyone. And hence by it shall affect the mental health also to everyone. Even though some people are not facing in good condition, but they have a mentality that tomorrow I shall also face such issues. Hence why the moral reason should be written. Then 3.4, you have the financial impact will also be mentioned, like cost associated with the if for the injured person, if he is like sick pay, replacement worker wages, medical cost, lost working time, LTI and all this thing. Then if replacement equipment, infrastructure cost and everything. We had mentioned a lot of controls and everything that we need require. So all these things we need to mention over here. Then legal fines that will come, that is also a financial impact that happens. We had seen all the like costs that happens, like indirect cost, direct cost and everything. So court, legal fee, lawyers, everything you can see over here that is mentioned, insurance and all these things we had checked. If something goes catastrophically wrong, NGG reputation could take a serious hit, which could result in loss of future contracts. It is actually IGG. Okay, by mistakenly it has become NGG. It is International General Garage. IGGs. A reputation, what happened? It will completely see if anything dangerous happens over there, that becomes completely in the media. Then what happens? Their reputation goes down. Whatever contracts they have, the customers, the clients they have, they shall lose. We shall lose, and financially it will cause a big impact for them. So that is the legal, moral, and financial reason we should have to mention over there, and we should only prioritize one only from all that hazards, 10 hazards. We should have to prioritize only one hazard from the risk assessment, and that should be justified or like prioritized very perfectly. We should be convinced properly to them. Now in 3.5, general reasons for prioritizing this hazard. Now, why are you prioritizing this hazard? You have around like 10 hazards, but why this? Give the general reasons. Yes, definitely you can see the likelihood of harm causing by this dust is like very high. It will enter the human through inhalation. Concentration of dust is also too high in this, which means you find it as like the biggest threat over there, biggest harm that will happen. Severity in future that happens inhaling this metal chemical dust will also be very high. So there is the existing control of dilution ventilation, but it is not sufficient. Uh, it cannot clear that much large scale dust that happens over there, which is settled in the equipment and everything. The existing control measures are inadequate to effectively manage the risk, which means existing controls, whatever is there to control the particular dust, is not that much efficient, which shall not do that much amount of work. Then poor employee health accident records will cause negative impact on potential investors and other stakeholders. So that shall affect generally to the company. So that is also mentioned over here. So we should have to say general reasons for prioritizing the hazard. So here, like, it is completely your like opinion you are putting over there after finding the like data. Then coming to 3.6, how would the further action help reduce the associated risk? So you had mentioned some controls, equipment purchase and all these things. You had mentioned control system and everything. So how can it control? That you should have to mention over there. So the on-tool dust extraction system will suck in the dust generated by the tool and at the point of source, which means the machine that you have said, it will clear all the required like hazards over there, the dust and everything, and it will make a significantly a good changes over there. There will be maintenance program done for ventilation system and everything. You had mentioned that. So what happens? Suction, extraction, everything it will do properly. And it shall also, by doing this maintenance also, what happens, the dust in the atmosphere will also become less. Providing RP, it will protect from residual dust left in the air being inhaled. So RP, the protection equipment, it shall also protect the workers. Also it is mentioned about training program, what will it will do. So see, whatever things you have mentioned over here, you had mentioned in short, all these things, trainings and everything in basics small you had mentioned, that you are completely saying properly over here, you are describing it. Conducting a training program on best practices for keeping dust levels to a minimum and on the safe system of work will create awareness among employees, which will further reduce the risk level. So how would the further action help reduce the associated risk? Whatever things you have written over here, these things, you should have to describe it, how it shall reduce that particular risk over there. Then 3.7, that is how would you check that the action carried out have been effective, which means the action that was carried was done. Like how will you check? I will periodically conduct dust monitoring using the dust monitoring equipment. Whatever controls we have done, how will you check it? Which means it is effective or is it good? What controls you have done? So there are like the dust monitoring equipment. So there is this type of equipments been there, dust monitoring equipments. So with this equipment, we can check the progress over there. So periodic check will be done. I will also consult with employees to understand if they are in any way affected by dust, by having breathing problems or itching. So worker consultation will be done, in which their like information, like how currently the situation is going. So that will be also important. Once every 6 months, I will engage a professional third-party agency to visit our factory and test the dust levels. Which means there are third-party agency or third-party like inspection. They come to this particular place. They inspect regarding the dust level. How many amount of dust level is there? So what happens in third-party inspection? What happens? Their report shall be proper. It is not manipulated. They give the genuine reports to you, like how much amount of dust level is there. They shall also give the required suggestions to you, because they are third party agency, that is a work that they are required for. And every 6 months, which means in yearly 2 times, they shall come, do the inspection, do their test, and they shall give the levels and everything. So by this, what happens, you can check the action, that whatever things you had carried out, is it effective and everything. How, see, you do a control, it has been implemented, and we need to understand whether it is effective or not. So how shall you test it? So you can write this. Now section 4, that says, okay, so 3.7, 3.6, 3.5, and all this. So in section 4, it is communicate, check, and review. 4.1, how would the significant findings of the risk assessment be communicated within your organization? Which means now you had prepared the risk assessment. So you, how shall you coordinate? How shall you like communicate with the organization that this is a risk assessment, these are the dangers, these are the risks, these are the controls, these are the current controls that you have, these are the improvements and all this thing. How shall you take the follow up of this? Which means the risk assessment has been done. You had also said the immediate term, responsible people, and all this you had put. Workshop manager will look into this, the finance director will look into this. They had say the time limit also, okay, some immediate, some in the medium term. So when you do this, are this thing going to automatically happen? No. So you need to communicate it first. So what you will do, I will arrange a meeting with the finance director. So we will arrange a meeting with the finance director and make him understand, agree the actions in the risk assessment. A summary shall be provided for findings, actions of the workshop, for the workshop manager and store manager. You should have to email it. What happens, it becomes a record. You can email it, take the follow-up messages from them, and findings of the risk assessment will be included in the next available toolbox talk. You can take a toolbox talk also, including all these people. Then you can give the advice for the workers, actions to be taken, and a summary of the risk assessment and action to be taken will also be posted on the company's internet that all workers have access to. Which means This risk assessment that is been made shall be put in the company's website or in the company's notice board and all these things. You have a lot of things, the broadcasting methods and everything. We have broadcasting methods like digital media, toolbox talk. You have the posters, videos, a lot of things are there. So you can choose that also. Emails, internet access and everything. So we should have to make sure that this risk assessment is actually being got to this particular team, to the organization. So we should have to make this. Then 4.2, how would you check that the action on the risk assessment have been carried out? Now that says risk assessment you had made, you had given to the company, you had shared it with the particular people and everyone, like the finance director, the company, the organization, to everyone you had done that. So they have the knowledge of this thing. They have the knowledge of this document you have prepared. But see, this is a document. See, once you give it, it is not like it is completed. We know in safety it is completely like the PDCA system: plan, do, check, act, and it goes on. So safety document, every document is a cycle. So same like that in 4.2, when you do all this thing after 6 months, or like the said immediate and the uh, medium term, who is going to look after this? You should have to look after this. You have made the risk assessment. You should make sure the things are going or not properly. So here what it said, I will set diary reminders for roughly 10 days, which means we shall make a diary and put in 10 days, take the follow-up actions, speak with the particular concerned responsible person, what all names you had put, ask them how the progress is going on, how the each action, uh, how many of them is completed, how many of them like follow-up and action is been going on, like what target completion are they going to achieve it, and what all sources, uh, what all resources issues are they facing for allocation and everything. If anything they are facing difficulty, if some action they are finding difficulty to perform, if it cannot be completed, then uh, we shall directly speak with the finance director or to the concerned responsible person, and if any additional resources available for the action, that can be given, like information can be given, the data can be shared, and actions that are very overdue, completion is more than 6 months, will be referred to the managing director via the finance director. So see, you should have to make a follow-up system over there. How can we take the follow-up actions? So that by diaries and this particular all the setups you can make this, and make sure the finance to the concerned persons we can do the 4.2 checking all the actions have been going on, follow up. Okay, 4.2 is mainly follow, and that needs to be done. So by seeing this section 4, you need to understand we had done all this thing, but section 4 is something, it is making a continuity over there. It is asking about continuity. It is requiring, or it is focusing on continuity, which means a continuous progress over there. And now when coming to 4.3, when would you review the risk assessment? It is very simple. It is, I set the review date for 12 months time, 25th April 2026. I'll just give an example. Here it is said 25th April 2026. I set the review date for 12 months time. So for all the documents, in all the documents, you shall have to put 12 months time. Everyone can put that, because it is a standard practice to put the review date for 12 months time, which means the risk assessment that you have made this document completely, this shall be reviewed in every, like in 12 months. Why? Because there shall be change in the workings, because you had mentioned some controls and all these things. There shall be change in the management, which means the finance directors, the like workshop managers, they can change. Sometimes their job they might have changed, they might have gone, new persons might have came, new workers might have came. the company might have like upgraded, or they have made some new buildings. There is a lot of changes. Management of change could have happened over there, depending on any of the circumstances. Workers change, management change, equipment change, like place change, location change, whatever change it might be. So when changes happen, this particular risk assessment should also have a continuity. So there is some like progress, there is some like updating, or there is some review. The proper name is review. So we do review of that particular risk assessment, and that timeline should be put as like 12 months. And then lastly, why that review period date has been chosen. So why do you choose that date? You can write like this: because the company policy is to review risk assessment at least every 12 months. This is a standard practice been followed by everyone, and you can put that 12 months only, because every company policy, as per the company's policy, the review date, the review for risk assessment is to be done at least in every 12 months. So this 12-month time you can put. Okay, so I said the review date for 12 months time. And why? The company policy has said that the review risk assessment at least every 6 months is to be done. We know the safety policy. You had checked that lesson also before. So every companies they have a safety policy, and as per the safety policy, risk assessment and everything is to be done. And in the risk assessment also, a review should be done. So when you make a review, what happens? This data is already been there, but next year there are new changes, and there is improvements in that, and you make it to a next other level, a good level again. So what happens? Safety also goes in a good practice been followed by the practitioner. So this is the GIC2 practical. So you can refer this document and understand this, and write all the 10 hazards and do this risk assessment. Make sure that all the things that you do, again cross check it. Never do anything wrong in this. Make sure everything is right, perfectly proper, and do it by yourself, using the words like I had visited the workplace and checked and all these things. So what happens is it becomes like perfect. There is perfection in that when you yourself in a view explain like that. Okay, so do like that, and put all these things. So this is how we should have to make. The document shall be shared. You can check it and do it. Thank you. So now regarding doubts, you can ask.